However, there's like a specific intention for this video. And the reason for that is because of a question that I've been asked a number of times. And this question is something that's been relevant for every person. But what's interesting receiving these questions from you guys is that every single one of you who's asked this question has wanted to ask it privately and has not wanted to ask it publicly in our public Patreon group, which is private for the Patreon members. However, as you guys know, I use those questions to talk about the topics here in these videos. So the question that we're going to address here today, and we being my collection of guides, so I'm working with a collective here, my collective guides, my collective higher consciousness, we are joining together to answer this question. This is a question that is really important for humanity at this time, particularly as well for this group, okay? So this group of people who are watching this video, this message is going to be highly relevant for you, okay? This is going to clear up a lot, okay? So the topic that we're going to talk about today is about COVID-19, about the vaccine, about topics related to this sort of subject. We're going to open it up to the guides just to open a dialogue and have a conversation about this subject. They have some really strong messages to share. And when I say strong, that doesn't mean that it's intense, okay? They want to calm you guys down. They want to get you guys to relax because they know that the heightened state of emotion that you guys are reflective of fear, and that fear is occupying your vibrational frequency that you're outputting. So that is what is determining your experience. So we're going to start there. Okay, and I think what we're going to do, and I'm asking them as we're live here, okay? So this is actually a great exercise for you guys, or just a great observational tool, just to sort of watch what it is like for an awakened being to navigate a conversation or their day. So this is something, and we're talking about this for a reason here. This is something that's going to become normalized in the next 50, 60, 70 years or so on this planet, okay? We're going to be seeing people operate in this sort of sense, okay? Where it's a dual dialogue, where we're having these conversations and then there's these conversations beyond the veil that we're connected to, okay? Our consciousness is connected to various different entities, various different beings that are connected to our light, okay? So when we enter a state of alignment, we're not just being a channel of our own little heart, our own individual human selves. We are channels of the divine. We are channels of beings of light that are connected to us in that interconnected space, okay? That's connected to the universe, that's connected to source, etc., etc. So what we're going to be noticing in those years to come, the decades to come, is more of an integration of this, more of an understanding. We're already seeing a blend here, okay? We're seeing more people awaken on the planet, and we're seeing more people become more cognizant and more aware that there's a subtle unspoken dialogue between our verbal dialogue, okay? So as we talk, we're going to be engaging more with an understanding of the auric fields, okay? So this is where we want to begin here, okay? We're going to talk about auras a little bit, and then we're going to get into the questions, okay? So the reason why we want to talk about auras is because everything, past, present, and future, is housed within the auric field. Everything that you could possibly fathom is contained within your auric field. So everything is represented in your auric field, okay? So your alignment and your happiness and fulfillment and reaching your goals and health, physical health, emotional health, mental health, being confident, having sense of mental clarity, all of these components, okay, are housed within the auric field, are represented in the auric field. You can see all of these details in a person based on their aura, okay? And what we're going to notice in the next 50, 60, 70 years, 40, 50 years even right now, you're going to be seeing people like myself or others talk about this. You're going to be seeing us, not just seeing us, you or human beings on this planet are going to be able to perceive the auric field with relative ease, okay? This is something that is not supposed to be a secret. This is not something that's supposed to be like, oh, who can see auras, who cannot? We're all supposed to be seeing auras, okay? At some point in our evolution, it's just not extremely relevant for every person right now, but it will be at some point, because that's one thing that we can ensure on this planet is evolution, okay? Humans are evolved, consciousness continues to evolve, okay? And with change is always met with resistance. Over the course of history, from the beginning of time, every time there's been evolution, every time there's been change, it's been met by resistance, okay? So that is important to know, okay, when we see so much resistance towards the conscious evolution that we're seeing on this planet this time, just know that that's been happening and it's going to keep happening, and it's just the way things are, okay? At the point where it's just going to be easier to focus on, well, eventually it's just going to, actually what they're saying is the whole world eventually is going to be occupied in this frequency, and you're just not going to be matched to this planet at some point. You know, if you are a non-physical consciousness and you want to engage in that sort of duality, you're going to move to a planet where duality actually exists more, okay? So back to auras just for a minute, okay? This is something that is, this is a vast subject, okay? So what I'm getting is we're going to be talking more about these in the coming weeks, okay? This is a subject that they want you guys, because you guys are more of that group of individuals that's going to be that forward-moving effort in conscious evolution, okay? So auras, okay? So this is something that is very, very natural. If you're in a dimly lit room and you're just like, just scanning around, you're just going to see hues. You're going to start seeing hues around people, and as you focus more and sort of follow again that trail that we talk about, and you just as you focus on it long enough, things start just apparating, okay? The more you focus on anything, the more you literally stare at your living room, the more things you're going to start noticing that are in your living room. That's the same goes for your aura, okay? But we just don't have these beliefs that fuel the action to perceive auras or focus on it long enough to believe that there's more things that are going to show up, okay? So we're not going to specifically get into all the different things, because literally that conversation would go on forever. There's so many things. Again, your past lives are held in your aura field, your future lives. This is why when people come into this lifetime, for example, this life, and they incarnate and they have like all these medical issues, for example, or have anxiety issues that they can't really understand. Oh, doctors say you're just born chemically imbalanced. Well, where did that start from? Okay, these are from past lifetimes, okay, that's still housed in your auric fields. Your energy is timeless, okay? It doesn't only happen here in the present moment. Energy is timeless, okay? Past, present, and future exist within your auric field, so you'll be able to perceive those things as well, okay? So we wanted to open with that first. Let's see, anything else that we want to talk about here regarding the auric field? Trauma as well is stored within the auric field, okay? So when I see somebody who is really just bogged down and just having a really, really, really hard time, what it looks like in their field are a whole bunch of pockets, a whole bunch of literal holes, dark, just like dark pockets, okay, or different phenomena, like different just bleeding effects sort of in the field. Yes, different. You'll see all these types of things, okay? You'll see even with narcissists, they'll have tentacles in their fields, in their auric fields when you look at them, or people who, it's just like narcissistic leaders, for example. When you watch them, if they have videos online, for example, and you're watching their videos or watching them on television or even in physical person, like in an audience, and you're watching someone who is a narcissist, what you're watching is cords. They're cording you. Then they have this sort of phenomena that, again, we'll be able to study this so much more, and I'll talk about this more in the future as well. But there are tentacles, for example, tentacles. There's also voids in people. That's really popular in the New Age community because there's so much emotional pain in the New Age community. People usually find themselves in the New Age community when things are not going well in their lives, okay? This is where awakening occurs, but in order to facilitate that awakening, that void must be illuminated. So there's these voids, like literally, like in their fields, okay? These are all perceptive within the auric field, okay? So when you just fuel your field with light, okay, and we do this with the breath, right? You can actually perceive my aura as we do this, okay? When you perceive my aura as I take a deep breath, you're going to see just light returning, okay? And if this was a little bit dimmer, you might be able to perceive the colors as well. You'll see some blues or some violets, okay? Indigos, right? These are the colors that are in my fields. And it's very useful to do this with a white background as well. So when you have when you have a white background behind you, it's just easier for you to perceive your own aura, or if you're perceiving someone else, if there's a white background behind them, it's just so much easier to perceive the colors and the textures and the different elements of the auric fields, okay? Now this is an incredibly useful tool because you'll when you're navigating, for example, just the everyday life, going to work or just being out in public, you can see people's auras. You can see who has good energy, right? You can see who you can gravitate towards, who will actually be of vibrational resonance with you, who you can actually facilitate conversations about things that you can actually agree upon, for example, or you might have similar perspectives on certain things. It can be a tool for social anxiety if you want to make new friends, right? It is a tool to know what jobs to look out for because, you'll know, vibrationally, even places have auras, like organizations, they have auras, and you can tell when they are in alignment based on the auric fields. When it looks like a field is permeated and is saturated and is being fueled by light in their being, that person is to be trusted, literally. That person is good-natured. That person doesn't have much to threaten you with, okay? That's going to be a safe person. These are all different things, okay? Entities as well. These entities can be attached in different chakras. Sometimes they'll be hiding, so you won't even really notice the entities yet, but you'll notice like a disturbance in their field, which, people like myself, when we go in as an extrasensory, just going into the specific auras, the specific chakras, you'll be able to, or those different disturbances, you'll start seeing those entities, and you'll just say scram, goodbye, and they leave. You just have to spot them. That's all it's about. They're hiding for a reason. It's because you're more powerful than them. So auras, that we can go on. There's also spheres that you'll see for people, like, let's see if I have any spheres. You'll see a sphere, for example, like around here, right, for during videos, for example. And these spheres come with sort of evolved abilities or talents or things like that. So for me, this sounds a little bit presumptuous because we're talking about myself here. There's nobody else for me to reference. But when you see spheres around someone's face, that's like, or different parts of their body. For example, you'll see one sometimes around my solar plexus or my heart. For different people, it'll be for different things. And because there's one, sort of manifesting more around this part of my face, also around my third eye, that's because I am clairvoyant and I'm also speaking a lot, okay? So talking is kind of a talent as well. It's not exactly talent, but stepping into that flow and being able to channel that frequency verbally is a talent, is a skill that you develop. And when these skills develop, when you look at like musicians play or like athletes who are in the zone, you'll see these spheres in their auric fields start manifesting, okay? You'll see like, for someone who's really loving, for example, you'll see like a green or like sphere in here. Blue, there's a blue sphere here right now, okay? That's kind of moving around a little bit because we're talking about it right now. So there's so many different things. Oh my goodness, there's so many different aspects of the field. There's so many different types of damages, right? That you can have in the auric field, not just voids. You can also have tears. And you'll see this a lot with people who are very young psychics, people who are very eager to try out these abilities that they're knowing is awakening, but they have no sense of boundaries and they have no real guide to help them understand this. And then they think that they're channeling their guides and they're channeling lower astral beings. And they're wondering why they're in a state of dysfunction all the time. Well, it's because they have like literally multiple dozens of lower astral attachments that are feeding on them, that are tricking their minds into thinking that they're, talking to their guides when they're like, no, they're talking to these lower astral entities, because these lower astral entities know that these are naive people. It's like if you take like a 15-year-old girl, and you put her in like a scary neighborhood, in an urban city. It's like, well, what do you think is going to happen? This person is vulnerable. Okay, you need to become aware, and you need to take precaution, and you need to be conscious, okay, in order to navigate things like that, okay? And this is not to dissuade anybody from learning the psychic arts. However, it's very, very important that we exercise boundaries. Because what do you think that these entities and these entity attachments do when they are attached to your fields, or when there are bleeding or tears in your field? This happens with people who are very identified with negative emotion, who talk about more negative things than positive things. Whether you like it or not, those people tend to have, always actually have more disturbances in their vibrational fields than people who are very positive, even if they're forcing it. Because what you're doing is still forcing a positive flow of high vibrational energy into your being. And yes, there's a part of you that you're neglecting. However, it's better to fuel your light vessel with more light than lack of light. And just because there's one disturbance in your field doesn't mean that you have to commit to your whole field being disturbance, being lack of light. No, okay? That's just perfectionism at play. Okay, that's you just trying to think that, I have to literally perfect all my field before I can enter the light. That's not how it works. You enter the light and the darkness diffuses, okay? The light gives you consciousness to diffuse that light, okay? So again, with this psychic work, I just say that because I know there's a lot of people who I'm talking to right now, who are very, very much into psychic energy work and energy healing and perceiving things extrasensory wise, who are also into trauma work and healing, which is great. However, we live in a vibrational universe. So if you think that the only things at play are just what you're talking about emotionally, there is a vibrational reflective element that's happening in your field based on what you're talking about emotionally. So are you creating voids? Are you creating tears? Are you repairing those tears? Are you fueling your body and your energy with light? If you're committing to the metaphysical arts and the awakened conscious living, you have to understand all of these elements, okay? And now if you're just committing to living an aligned life, then just pay attention to light and what brings you joy and light, peace, prosperity, okay? And then it's very straightforward. But the reason why we're talking about this is because I know every person who's watching this, most of you watching this, are very, very much into this work, okay? This is not to scare you, but it is to forewarn you, okay? Okay. Because when these beings, these lower astral entities that attach to your field, what does that manifest in? Dysfunction in your life, perpetual disempowerment, okay? Anxiety, panic attacks, not being able to think straight, losing your thoughts, losing your stream of thoughts, your, not always for that, but a lot of times, just not being able to stay focused. You really have to be very, very conscious and cognizant of all of these elements, okay? So that's where we want to leave this off with auras, okay? This is something that you can practice, okay? So we'll leave you with just a quick little exercise that you can practice with auras, but we're going to do videos in the future where we're going to be more specifically addressing these more step by step, okay? So something that you can do, for example, it's not a completely white wall, but it's a blank wall behind me, minus my painting here above. So what you can do is find like a place where you or somebody else, if you have a partner, great, but find a mirror with like a slightly dimly lit room, okay? And what you want to do is, this is perfect because there's this light switch right here. You could put like a thumbtack or like a sticker on the wall or something, or, a sticky note or something on the wall that's like a couple inches away from your body, okay? Or away from your head is even better. What you want to do in this dimly lit room is just focus on that sticker, okay? Focus on that focal point next to you. You want to exercise your peripheral vision. This is really important, okay? Sorry, I thought we just lost battery there. Okay, so when you want to really focus on the peripheral vision here, okay, because the peripheral vision and training that part of your vision is what's going to enhance your multisensory perception. What you're just doing is just using the full capacity of your brain. You might have heard this before, we only use 10% of our brain. Not all of us, okay? If they hooked us up to psychics, they'd see like a lot more percentage of their brain being used, but it's still a low percentage, okay? When we're activating these parts of our brain, it enables us to be able to perceive other parts, the auric field, for example. I want to normalize this. People are like, who can see auras? Like, oh, I have the ability where I can see auras. And look, every person can see an aura. I've never worked with somebody or talked to somebody who I've worked through this exercise that hasn't been able to see auras. I've never worked through someone through any sort of psychic exercise that has failed, ever. That I've like really sat with them and kind of showed them step by step how this works. It's very normalized, okay? We want to normalize it more, okay? So we're now being guided to move to the questions. So this next question says, so it's from Anonymous. We're just going to keep the names out because there's a number of you who've asked about this subject, okay? So this is about the COVID-19, the vaccine, as well as the virus itself. We're just going to open up the channel just to receive any messages of guidance around this subject, okay? And we're just going to answer your question specifically, okay? So this person says, hi, Cody. I just posted in the Rota group, but I'm having so much come up for me recently. I'm wondering about the COVID-19 vaccine. I just got it. My guides were saying that it would be okay for me. I'm now seeing so many things on the topic that are scaring me. So 2 things that happened there. You had an instinct that it's okay to receive the vaccine. You listened to your intuition. And then what happened? Then now I'm seeing so many things on the topic that are scaring me. Then you changed your focus onto things that would trigger fear in you, that is literally causing you to enter a realm of fear. It's like entering like literally a portal. Imagine a portal going into the house of fear where everything reflects that fear now. Everything is laced in that fear, and it is very convincing because you are housed in a world where everything operates in fear, right? The law is like of fear in that space because that is what you're choosing is your reality in that moment. So just generating some self-awareness around that moment of you having an instinct that came from within that it is okay for me to do this, and then fear kicked in. Fear that already existed somewhere in you that sort of somebody outside of you kind of triggered. And because we haven't developed that self-awareness in that part of you as much yet, you know, it sort of got propelled and pulled in a sense now where you're, you know, it's sort of like that part of you is being seduced by these people talking about whatever fear it is. And we say whatever fear because it doesn't matter if it's a COVID or if it's GMOs or if it's air quality or whatever it might be. Fear is fear. Vibration is vibration. The only determinant factor on what bad things happen to you is your vibrational frequency. We make too much of a fuss about all these details, about all the different specific subjects to debate and talk about when the only determinant factor based on what good things happen to you or to the collective is based on your vibration. If it's the collective, it's the collective's collective vibration, okay? So the frequency that you are giving off determines what comes to you. This is law of attraction, okay? Law of attraction is what is going to help us get through these times, okay? Because fear is only going to get louder. People are like, oh my gosh, times are changing. Well, guess what? That also means the fear is going to get more dense, and it's going to feel even heavier if you commit to that fear. And what that's doing is essentially just causing you to intrinsically choose light, because when you're just constricting more in that fear, eventually what's going to happen is you're going to be provoked into choosing light. It's just what's going to happen, and that's how evolution of humanity is going to occur. That's how consciousness occurs, okay? So the rest of this question, I try to stay away from the news, but I also want to keep informed. Informed on what? Informed on what to be afraid of? Informed on how to keep that vibration of fear moving inside of you? I was wondering if there's any guidance on if the vaccine is okay for me. Yes, it's absolutely okay for you, Kayla. it is okay for you, okay? Because you have that instinct initially. Can you change it from being okay for you? Absolutely. You have that creative power. You are somebody, and there's so many of you on here, who is somebody who thinks that they are dependent on external circumstances to determine your reality. We are not a victim of circumstances, okay? We get to choose and dictate our experience, okay? We have that choice, we have that option. We have the ability to do that, navigating through our thoughts, okay? And our decisions and our choices, okay? Whatever choice you make, if you choose to eat meat or be a vegan, regardless, if you choose to get the vaccine or not, the determinant factor if you're going to get the vaccine or if you're going to get sick or not is if you are in vibrational alignment when you are making the decision. The decision itself doesn't actually matter. It is the alignment, the vibrational alignment that you have to be in before you make those decisions that is crucial, that is important. So what does that mean? That means that, are vaccines a danger? No. Is the COVID virus a danger? No, it's not. Do you believe it? If you believe it is, then it is, okay? And if you believe it is, that doesn't mean that you're also going to get the virus. That just means that you're probably just going to manifest more instances or more close calls where you think you're going to get it, probably manifest more panic attacks, but you're not going to manifest actually dying. That's not how law of attraction works. In order to die, you have to be a match to death, okay? Vibrationally, you have to be in a state of literal, revolt against the self to a severe, critical point of just helplessness, utter powerlessness, okay? That is not where any of you are. None of you are going to get hurt in this sense, okay? Even if you do get the vaccine, you will be fine. Our bodies are biologically designed to fight off viruses. That's just how it is, okay? Is there a virus? Yes, absolutely. There is such thing as the COVID virus. The COVID-19 virus is a thing. Is it as dangerous as they're saying? No, absolutely not. Is the virus safe? Yeah, it's safe. It is safe. Can it be dangerous? Yes. And so do you understand how the determinant factor is not the physical thing that's happening? The determinant factor is the person who is emitting the frequency that is going about that action. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that we have the opportunity to position ourselves in such a way that exempts us from any sort of harm in any form, from the virus or from the vaccine or from GMOs or from meats or from whatever it might be, okay? It does not matter. It does not matter what these circumstances are, okay? It matters what we are vibrationally emitting as creator beings. That's what we are. We're here to paint our reality, right? But what's happening is we're being influenced by other people or other circumstances into believing that they have power over us. And only by that notion do they have power over you, because you are giving them power over you, okay? So nothing bad's going to happen to you. Is it bad that this virus is occurring? Of course, but there's so many awful things that are happening in the world at all times, and we're not talking about it all the time. And they're not affecting us at all the time, because we're not talking about it all the time, okay? So just wanting to clear that up a little bit. I think that's really, really vitally important for people in this spiritual community to hear this, okay? You're not in danger. You're fine. Everything is okay, okay? If it doesn't feel okay, there are preceding things that occurred before you entered that state of being that I want you to become conscious about. What led you there, okay? Perhaps it's a traumatic experience that caused you to think certain ways about things, that caused you to produce certain vibrational frequencies or outputs that makes you a match to being really seduced by people who talk about really fearful things. Okay, sometimes people who've been disempowered for so long in their lives, the only thing that they know how to adhere to is people who are teaching you how to run away from fear. But being exempt from fear is not running away from fear. There's a difference. There's a distinction. Okay, running away from fear still has your focus on the fear, you see? So you just have to find a way to understand that they don't have power over you. You get to choose what things that you want to engage with, that makes you feel better, that adds fuel and momentum, that causes you to enter the house of love instead of the house of fear. And what happens in the house of love? Literally miraculous things occur. Literally things like, oh, I was hanging out with 4 people with the COVID vaccine who coughed all over me, and I'm perfectly fine. Things like that happen all the time. So how do we explain that? By saying, oh, everybody's going to get the COVID vaccine. Oh, the COVID virus. Or, oh, the vaccine. You should have got the vaccine. Then, oh, that person, it's because they had the vaccine or whatever. No, these circumstances don't matter. It's just about what we're outputting, okay? How are we positioning ourselves? This is what's important, okay? So step into the house of love and outside of the house of fear, and literally watch how your reality shifts. Literally watch how you might hear people talking about scary things, but it's not adhering to you anymore. It's just kind of grayed out, or it's just kind of like miscellaneous. You see, this is what we want you to understand, is you have the power. So stop giving your power away, okay? Thank you. Thank you. So this question says, working through the advice you gave me last time, everything was so spot on, even in your collective message. Thank you. As I reflect and work on where my inner resistance in life currently is coming from, a lot has to do with my mother-in-law. If there's any info or clarity you can give me on that and the relationship, it would be so much appreciated. So much gaslighting and narcissism runs in the parental theme from all sides. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're just going to scan this person really quickly, vibrationally, just to tap into this theme here. Okay, so they're just saying that the mother-in-law is not the key issue here. The key issue is underlying that. So if you were to literally fix the whole mother-in-law issue altogether and you were not to have conflicts with her, first we want to confirm, like we do see this issue. We do see, you know, the narcissistic qualities and the controlling mechanisms and, you know, the backhanded, you know, sort of way of being this person is. We get it. We totally validate that. But we do see that this issue is not just about the mother-in-law. There's a deeper issue here, okay, that they want you to pay attention to. For you, they want you to prioritize your feelings, your emotions, okay? So what is coming before this instinct of like, my mother-in-law is bad? What is prefacing that state of action or wanting to take action? What is prefacing that? Well, it's an emotional state of being. What are you focusing on in your immediate reality that is causing you to not enjoy what's around you? Okay, there's a couple elements here. Okay, they're giving me a lot here, actually. The reason why they're wanting to just get really basic with you is because they really want you to understand how emotions are a compass, okay? They want you to know that the beginning of a spiritual awakening begins with your emotion. So if you're neglecting the emotional component here, you're neglecting an important vital stage in this saga that is ongoing in your life right now. This initiation, this soul lesson will not be transcended until you acknowledge this emotional journey that you're on right now, okay? So you're beginning this by talking about the mother-in-law here. Well, what are you afraid to say out loud, okay? Because there's something that is about this subject that you don't want to say out loud, that you don't want to accept even saying it out loud because of the potential of what that might mean moving forward. That is your greatest fear, okay? You're afraid of everything falling apart too, okay? And you're doing everything within you to avoid that falling apart, when sometimes falling apart is what needs to happen in order to restore oneself, okay? Let me just see here, because this is a radical message, but I'm honestly trying to search for like some sort of like way to make this easier, moving through this, okay? They say what's happening for you, the inevitable is inevitable. So stop focusing on the inevitable. Your fear of what is going to happen is going to happen. That is going to happen. So if that feels scary to you, okay, accept that feeling. This is scary right now. So what is in my power in this moment then? Where do I have power to access happiness? Well, I love my 2 boys so much. I love my children. I want to I could look at him all day long and just be smiling ear to ear because he just brings me so much joy, so much elation, so much freedom in my heart. I just know everything is going to be okay when I just see and sense that energy of that innocent little heart. I just know all is well, period. Notice how when we talk about that, there's no conflicting vibrations in that energy. That energy is pure. So if you were to purely think about that and sit in that space, your energy would become pure as well. And the solutions to these issues wouldn't even be required for you to move through them because it would slip through like nothing else. It would just completely just slip away. Those issues would not even be an issue at all. You will literally see how your issue literally dissolves before your eyes. And it's not that your mother-in-law is going to disappear and vanish. What's going to happen is you're just going to notice that the collection of energy and accumulation around the subject and the resistance around the subject is going to completely just melt away and resolve. Okay? So this is why we're saying prioritize your emotions, because the reason why you feel bad so much is because you're preoccupying your focus with thinking about what is potentially going to go wrong. There's nothing wrong in this moment. There's nothing wrong in this moment. There's nothing wrong with your frequency in this moment. There's nothing wrong with the frequency of you in the moment that you're focusing on your son. So that means you do have leverage. That means you do have control. So stop telling yourself that you don't have control over your vibration or over your reality, because you do. That goes for every person here. Every person has the ability to unconditionally focus positively on something, because there's something around you immediately that is going to make you feel unbelievably happy at all times. Even if it's this video, even if it's your child, even if it's your dog who's just literally always just so eager to see you at all times. Like, can you think about something that's more excitable than a puppy that is just wants to lick your face? I mean, there are ways to enter this frequency. So stop telling yourself, for all of you guys, that you can't do it, because you can, and you do it every single day. Every time you're like, oh, I want to go hang out with Nancy and go see a movie, you are deciding to enter a frequency that brings about joyous realities, positive things to you. This is why this message is so important. Thank you for asking this question. We're going to just say anonymous because I don't know if this person didn't indicate, whether it would be, you just mentioned the mother-in-law, so I just wanted to be, just extra sure. This person knows who they are from Discord, okay? Okay, I think we like this question. This is going to be the last question. This is from Yelena, Eternal Light. Okay. Hello, Cody and the guides. I have a question regarding the feeling of physically, spiritually, and mentally being burnt out. I don't feel life energy flowing through me for years. That's why I don't manifest anything really tangible from my creations. Yes, good association there. I know I am a creator of beautiful things, but there's nothing that gets me in the frequency, in that frequency of just going for it. That's wrong. There are things. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a minute. Well, first, let's break that down. I don't feel life energy flowing through me for years. That's why I don't manifest anything really tangible for my creation. So let's talk about that for a minute, just for everybody else, okay? If you don't have a lot of energy in your day, if your day is pretty much idle every single day, there's not a lot of energy supplying your being every day. So what do you think is going to supply your creations of all your dreams that you conceive of if you are not generating energy in your vessel to do those things? You need a supply of energy in order to reflect those major creations that you want to create in your life, okay? They're not going to manifest unless you have more energy that's accumulated, okay? So then how do you start accumulating energy? I always say make a decision. Just start literally, like, you do know how to accumulate energy, you just don't want to because you're afraid of what's going to happen once that energy starts moving real fast. You feel like you can't control it, and then you're going to manifest bad things. That's what you're afraid of. But so just sit with that for a second, for a minute here, because there's a lot that they want to talk about. So make a decision. Go to the movies with Nancy. You're going to start accumulating a lot of energy. If there's one sure way you're going to start manifesting things happening to you, it's by literally going out. Literally going out. You're going to manifest some popcorn. You're probably going to manifest a random interaction with a stranger, either who scoffs at you or says hello with a smile on their face. It depends on what your frequency you're giving off is. But you do have the ability to jumpstart things. You're just afraid of what you're going to manifest. So you're just choosing. Your consciousness has become very perceptive and knows that if I don't do anything at all and I stay idle, that means I'm not accumulating energy. That means, well, not a lot can really go wrong, but that also means not a lot can really go right either, okay? Because there's not a lot of energy to supply anything happening, okay? So the doing and pushing through, okay, sorry, I think I skipped a sentence. I know I'm the creator of beautiful things, but there's nothing that gets me into the frequency of just going for it. So that's wrong, first of all. Yes, there is. There are things that can jumpstart you, okay? Even if it's a bad thing, even if you're like, dang, like, I'm just so stumped right now. I don't even know, like, what I want to do that makes me happy. My fear is just overcoming me where I can't even access what I like right now. Then do something else that you suspect maybe might make you happy, There's a guess, you could guess, right? And if it turns out bad, then that points you in the direction of what you do want. Because if there's one way to know what you do want, it's by knowing what you don't want, okay? So it's always going to point you and more refine you, more in the direction towards what you do want to create for yourself, okay? Not to be dark, but it feels like there's always a part of me that doesn't want to live. It's a part of me nobody would notice because of my vibrant nature, but it is so present in me. Well, that's incredibly relatable. Thank you so much for sharing that, Elena, because that is just the story of all of us, isn't it? Right? We just spend so much time just trying to be in a good state of being, but we all have dark moments. There is always a moment where we dip. But we want to talk about that dip because that's our opportunity. That is our opportunity to create. That's our opportunity to calculate our life path moving forward. That's why those times are inevitable, because what's inevitable in those dark moments are a lot of asking, a lot of desire for wanting more, okay? So that's when we start mentally calculating and mapping out our reality moving forward, creating our vibrational grids that determine what our realities will be moving forward, that we align with, okay? I am searching for what's wrong with my body and the pain it has for years now. Resistance, right? Resistance manifests in atrophy of your body. Resistance manifests in different parts of your body, wherever. This is a really great indicator, okay, of like when you are in emotional distress, or yes, for example, if you are in emotional distress and you continue to ignore your emotions about an issue that you've been just like wanting to just forget about, and you just know that there are things to unpack there, There's always there's a difference between knowing okay, this is a negative emotion that is just not useful versus this is a negative emotion that is housing parts of me that I'm leaving behind, that there's baggage here. So, and it might actually make me feel better to uncover the light that I'm keeping behind, okay? That is actually a part of me. So, sorry, just wanting to, let me just read here. Not to be too. Okay, sorry, lost my part. Okay, not to be too dark, but it feels like there's always a part of me that doesn't want to live. It's always a part of me that, okay, because of my vibrant nature, it is so present within me. Yes, and those are the optimal times of asking. What have you noticed during those times of those dark nights of the soul where you just feel like so, it's not necessarily a dark night of the soul, but in those dips, right? In those moments where you just feel like, oh, just so low. It's a strong desire for something more. So know that they're not for nothing, okay? And nothing is wrong when you're feeling bad, okay? When you fall into those states of being, okay? It is just letting you know of what is to come, okay? It's letting you know that, okay, you are the creator of this experience. You get to determine, you get to map out now based on what you've discovered that you don't want and what you do want now, okay? Is it something I can get out of? It seems like I align with depression, sadness, and lethargy. You align with it because you identify with it. You think of it as a part of you when it's just an aspect of your consciousness that is trying to fuel you further into a state of creating everything that you want that you don't fully know that you want yet, okay? So there are aspects of your consciousness that are taped off and don't quite fully know what you want, at least on a conscious level yet, okay? But you have access to it, okay? But being identified with, being depressed and being sad and just like talking about that, in such a way where it's like a part of you, okay? Do you see how you're carrying it with you like a child, okay? There's a distinction here, okay? Because what happens vibrationally, for example, in people's auras, when they carry this around, they carry it like it's actually like a child, like they have to protect, when it's important to know how to show love to yourself, but also knowing, where vibrations that, may have some attachments. For example, there's like an attachment to this part of you that is just fueling that emotion. So what you want to do, is just, let me just ask them really quickly just to confirm. Okay. I'm going to do a light language transmission, and what we're going to do is you're just going to tap into that part of you, but I want you to tap into it outside of it, okay? As if you are an observer, a spectator of this emotion, that depression, that lethargy, that sadness, okay? We're going to do a transmission, and after that transmission, I want you to say something and then I'll talk you through it, okay? So this is going to be very quickly, okay? So this goes for everybody as well. You can participate in this to some capacity, okay? This is going to be healing for everybody in a transmutation, okay? Kuna iria sanamia kutuni ibira saria namia kumna. Sania maktini ere sandani makutuni iria shandria. Fini ale iniaktena iria podria shatini aktana hasana. Iri dedera tarutushu kutribiria namadria ksheria. Iri de teseruchio kutuni meag duniala. And now I just want you to say just goodbye to this lower attachment and just say, I'm just lovingly sending you back to the lower astral now. Goodbye, thank you, and goodbye, okay? Goodbye, 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 goodbye. That's all you have to do. And this attachment to that part of you is now going to leave. And now what's going to happen is light. Light is going to refill that part of your field, okay? We're going to call in light, okay? Visualize light. Take a deep breath in all the way to the top, and now allow that light now to fill and fortify those parts of your being, okay? But we want to thank you for asking this question because it's really valuable, okay? There's a lot to take away here. There's a lot to take away in understanding that, being low is inevitable for everybody because it's a part of the human experience that is a part of the creational process. Do you get that? Okay, because in order to know what is aligned for us to create in our lives, we have to experience low points that provoke us to even consider the details that which of what we want in our lives, okay? Our consciousness has to be able to conjure that, okay? Even if you're not able to consciously communicate it or articulate it, subconsciously you do know. Subconsciously you're always taking note, okay? So remember that moving forward, when you find these moments of just kind of falling a little bit low, remember, we're just refining. Every single time we fall low, we are refining, okay? And just stop telling yourselves that it's bad or wrong when you feel low. Like, that's great. Actually, from non-physical consciousness, we get really excited when you are low. When you're depressed or when you're low, we get excited because we know what's in store for you. We know what's inevitable for you. We know what you are inevitably going to line up because that is the law of attraction. Everything that you're thinking about is coming to you no matter what. Everything that you want for yourself, the happiness, joy, peace, prosperity in all forms that you could possibly want are coming for you, okay? They are headed for you. They are inevitable. So just understand that from our perspective of knowing what's inevitable for you, okay, and knowing the processes by which that enable that to occur, which one of those things are these moments of low points, okay? Challenging times, okay? We love it because when you shake things up, things start to shift, and that's what we like about it. But for you guys, you tend to make a fuss of it. But we want to let you know that it is possible. It absolutely is possible to possess a consciousness, and it is the future of this planet, actually, to possess a consciousness where we're aware that these emotions are just a projection of our thoughts and our mental thought. Our emotions are a projection of our mental thoughts onto vibrational sensations of light entering or moving in our being. That's all emotions are, okay? Okay, I'm going to reiterate that. Emotions are just projections of our mind, okay? Our psyche or our mental selves onto the physical energy that is fueling and moving throughout our being. So that movement of energy throughout our vessel can feel like a disturbance, can feel like sensations. And when we have a lot of trauma, we project negative emotions onto those sensations or positive ones, and that determines what makes it good. But eventually we're going to see that emotions are a byproduct of energy, and we're going to operate from energy first, and then emotions are just not really going to be talked about that much. It's going to be always a function of the human experience because it's how we create things. However, right now at this point in our development, we are so undereducated on emotions. We don't understand the purpose of emotions, and we kind of have to go through the arduous processes of being beaten down by it collectively, to kind of eventually evolve to the point. You don't have to, actually, but that's just how humanity has chosen to learn its lessons, is by getting beaten up in order to learn its lessons, But it doesn't have to occur that way. There are ways to evolve your consciousness without having to navigate and all of these like horrendous, difficult, resistant-based experiences. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm just looking at here, just if there's any other messages. Okay, I really like this question, so we're just going to touch this really quickly. This is questions from Kim. Hi, Cody and Guides. It's been a while. I've been tending to the deep integrations and transitions in my life. Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is what we want from you guys. Our answers are going to feel repetitive to you, and if it does feel repetitive to you, it's because we want you to spend that time. after receiving these questions, receiving these answers, to integrate these lessons, okay? You're asking questions too fast without, it's okay to ask questions, okay? Just keep, feel free to keep asking the questions. However, do give yourself that time to integrate the transitions in your life, okay? And catch up with yourself. And, our consciousness is just evolving at such a rapid pace. Physically, we have to catch up with that. Our bodies, our minds have to catch up with that. That takes time and that takes practice, okay? To get used to it, okay? So that's good on you for recognizing that, Kim. I hope you're doing well and sending a huge hug. I come today with a couple of questions. Okay, so we're just going to get into probably the first one for now. We'll see just how the guys assess this. First, about my energetic gifts. I struggled with migraines for most of my life. Okay, we'll get into it. Clairvoyance. I've struggled with migraines for most of my life. Most recently, I got a handle on them and began to see them as energetic activations and integrations. Good. So that doesn't mean for everybody that migraines are energetic fluctuations and stuff, but it always is to some level, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're awakening for everybody. They seem to be connected to my clairvoyance, as they can be very visual. I see colors, shapes, in 3D around me all the time. 2 days ago, one of these episodes landed me in the hospital. I had to call the EMTs because it felt as though I was losing all cognitive and body function. I didn't end up losing it. Okay. I would love more information you might have on this and my gifts and how to work with them. Okay, so this might be a little bit specific at first because we have some specific messages for you, Kim. Nature, go outside, go into the woods, go into the big tall trees, ground at least 2 to 3 times a week, okay? Prioritize that. That's really important for you right now because you are awakening, you are evolving, and you do have an extraterrestrial consciousness that is trying to merge more integrated with your physical consciousness, okay? Your human consciousness. It is already merged, but the integration process also occurs mentally, physically, physiologically, just all these different elements there is a process for this, and just grounding here as a human just really, really helps facilitate that process. It speeds up the process. It also just makes it more easy, okay? So that's the first thing. I see colors and shapes around me. Okay, so ending up in the hospital, that was more or less a panic attack. That was your ego doing a last resort effort to try to save you, because your ego is concerned with survival, but our egos are not conscious. Our egos are not self-aware. Our egos are just aware of our trauma and is just aware of our past and is trying to protect us from things that it's learned from its past, that's become its mental construction of how it believes reality is set up. If something contradicts that, it is going to completely cause you to have a panic attack, even physical symptoms as well, okay? So it's a little bit of just society, you internalizing society's voice and gaslighting yourself into a state that literally took you to the hospital. So thanks, society, by the way. Society, man, it is just it's so devastating, because I think about so many people in psych wards, or so many people who are being put on medication, or who are even going to therapy, just making their issues worse in some cases. Some therapists are incredible, but you have to find the right ones, because some of them that's for another day. We'll talk about that another time. However, so you absolutely are going through so many activations right now. Multiple. So many, Kim, okay? So that's why we talk about the woods, okay? Be in the woods. There was something else that we were wanting to share. Let me just reread the question and it might jump out again. Let's see. Yes. All the time. 2 days ago, one of the episodes landed me in the hospital. I had to call the EMTs because it felt as though I was losing cognitive and body function. I didn't end up losing it. You see? Okay. I would love any more information you have on this, my gifts, on how to work with them. Okay. Well, definitely the woods. That's like what they would do want to say first and foremost. Definitely make that a practice. And the other elements, they are saying you are already in movement and progress on those aspects. So I was asking them just now if there's any other sort of training mechanisms or tools. Definitely the aura stuff that we're talking about earlier in this video will be very useful for you. But don't do it like a chore. Do it for whenever you get excited, whenever it feels fun to learn about it, do that. And that's not something that we really have to lecture you on, because they show me that is already in function, that's already in movement, okay? You're already doing this. The element that you do have to integrate is grounding, okay? Being outdoors in the woods, spending some time there, meditating out there, or doing whatever you need to do to ground more out there. You're going to generate a lot more energy out there as well. It's going to ground you a lot more as well. Are the colors I see associated with clairvoyance? Absolutely. Auras have colors. You can perceive mine as well. Tell me what you see. I think we already talked about it, so we might have given it away a little bit. But yes, absolutely, you do see that. Your artistic sensibility as well, so your art as well as you're using those parts of your brain that are activating parts of your clairvoyance. So, I mean, there's so much that we could talk about for clairvoyance. You know, we do want to, again, just grounding is so important for you. For clairvoyance, is there anything else that they wanted to share with you? Yeah, just keep following the information. Don't overdo it. Only do it when you feel like it's really fun, because when it feels really fun, that means that you are resonating in a higher vibrational frequency, which will make it easier to perceive the energy. Yeah, it'll just not invite anything negative as well, okay? So don't feel crazy, okay? Again, this is probably why we were guided to your question, is because it's a match to the vibration of this video. The first portion of this, the video we talked about auras and a little bit of clairvoyance, okay, or visions, you know. Excuse me, trying to dedicate to my spiritual growth and start my own virtual assistant business so that I can eventually be my own boss and work remote. Yes. There's like 11 angels that are literally like, yes. Tell her, yes, do this. I just feel so overwhelmed. The reason you're overwhelmed is because you've already created it vibrationally. That exists somewhere in the universe already. Vibrationally, your consciousness, higher dimensional version of you has created that literal, tangible, physical, down to every detail reality. The overwhelmment is you being down here, perceiving energetically all of that energy that is trying to enter your physical being in your physical space. See, so we're projecting an emotion onto the sensation of energy coming in. Because that energy is so big, that's why you feel so overwhelmed, okay? Because that energy wants to enter, and it is going to enter. It's actually inevitable because it already is you. You are not this physical person. You are the totality of your consciousness. And your consciousness has already created this vibrationally. And the next step of that is the physical representation of that, the physical manifestation of that, okay? It just cements and gets more physically solidified the more we focus on it. So just keep focusing on your dream about it, okay? Don't think about all the things that you have to do. All the things that you have to do will just happen, okay? You will do things, but you won't ever think about it. Think about your dream about it. Why do you want to do this? What strikes you about this manifestation that makes you want to do it so much, okay? That is a vibration that you want to think about. That's what you want to meditate on. Anytime you hear me or anybody talking about meditation, meditate on that, okay? Because that is a frequency of you. We're focusing so much on this creation that you want because this creation is you. You are the consciousness that you've carved into that vibrationally that comes down physically into this human experience at some point. You already do this. This is the same thing with your job that you have now as well. Okay? that was vibrational before you made it physical. It existed vibrationally first, and then you followed the instincts that the vibration inspired in your thoughts that guided you to that physical job. Okay, that's the same thing that's going to be with this creative entrepreneurial endeavor, or whatever you were specifically talking about that you wanted to do here. Okay, I'm trying to find where you were in this question, because there's some more here. Okay, I guess the question is what? Okay, that we already answered all that. Okay, all of the rest we've already answered that vibrationally. Listen to what we said. Anything that we move forward with, it will just bring you backwards. Okay, so that is your jumping off point, is that frequency that we sort of propelled for you. Okay, thank you guys again so much. This is always a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to doing more of these with you in the future as well. Please subscribe, to my YouTube. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Divine Creators. YouTube as well. Just type in Cody S on YouTube. You should find my stuff. Cody Spirituality, anything that you'll find on YouTube there as well. Facebook as well. I have a Facebook group, Divine Creators with Cody Singh on Facebook. You can find me there, and I talk about all kinds of stuff. I share all my content. And I'm really excited about what the future has in store for all of us. Thank you guys again. Peace and love to you all. Bye now.